Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Okay, so today we're diving into a tool that's literally taken over the modern web development scene. You know the drill. If you've been building web apps lately, keeping up with configs, rendering strategies, and performance, it kind of feels like a full-time job in itself, right? But what if there was a framework that just swooped in like a superhero to radically simplify all that heavy lifting for you? Well, today we're breaking down Next.js 14, and we're going to see exactly how it acts as your ultimate front-end superhero. Section 1. The Front-End Superhero. Okay, let's dive into this. To really get Next.js 14, we have to look at the massive pain points it actually solves. Sayonara React Router. I mean, that phrase perfectly sets the tone, doesn't it? Next.js is basically waiving its cape of simplicity to rescue us developers from those deeply complicated, nested route configurations of the past. It steps right in and says, hey, we can make this entire process infinitely easier. And, it all starts with pure, raw performance. So take a look at this number, 53. What does that actually mean for you? Well, under the hood, Next.js uses Turbopack and a wonderfully speedy web compiler. Because of this, developers are seeing a massive 53% faster local server startup time compared to your standard React application. I mean, if you build web apps, waiting for your local server to boot up can totally break your flow. Cutting that time by more than half, that is a total game changer for your daily workflow. And believe it or not, it gets even better. 94. That's the percentage by which your code updates are accelerated, all thanks to a feature called Fast Refresh. When you spin up that development server, you're going to notice a significant, almost immediate difference between a standard React app and a Next.js app. You write your code, you save it, and boom, the update is on your screen 94% faster. It honestly feels like absolute magic when you're in the zone, just coding away. Moving on to Section 2, Rendering, SSR and SSG. Let's demystify how this framework does the heavy lifting for you. First up is server-side rendering, or SSR. Basically, this is where the server generates and sends a completely formed web page directly to the user's browser. It's incredibly fast for the user because, well, they don't have to wait for their device to build the page from scratch. And here's the absolute kicker with Next.js. All your components are, by default, server components. It just assumes you want that fast, server-rendered performance right out of the box. Now, stepping out of that default behavior is actually incredibly simple. If you need a component to be rendered on the client side, maybe it needs to handle a specific user interaction or talk to a browser API, you simply add this tiny snippet, use client, to the very top of your file. That is literally it. It's an incredibly easy toggle that lets you step out of the default server-side environment only exactly when you need to. And this brilliantly illustrates your two main rendering superpowers. On one hand, you have SSR, which renders dynamically on each individual user request. But then, on the other hand, you have static site generation, or SSG. This analyzes your pages and components during the build time to pre-generate and store the HTML. So instead of rendering the page every single time a user clicks, it just hands them the pre-built file. Super smart, lightning fast, and highly efficient. Section 3, Simple Routing and Styles. Time to look at how we've moved past wrestling with nested components to a new, utopian way of routing.
Seriously, if you remember the old days of wrestling with nested components just to make a simple URL work, prepare yourself. Creating a page in Next.js is now literally as easy as ordering a pizza. Look at these steps. Step 1, create a folder. Step 2, toss a page.js file right into that folder. Step 3, voila, you've just summoned a web page into existence. There are no complicated routing files to update, no smoke and mirrors. The folder name just simply becomes the route in your URL.
But let's move on and see how this builds into more advanced scenarios, because let's be real, web apps are rarely just static pages. Next.js handles dynamic routing beautifully. Say you're building a blog or an e-commerce site where you need to fetch specific products from an API, the route dynamically adjusts based on an ID or a slug. And for nested routing, if you want a complex URL structure, like an app folder containing a case study folder containing web, containing Next.js, you literally just create that exact folder structure and drop your page TSX file right inside. The folders elegantly manage all the complexity for you. Think of this file structure as a perfectly organized pantry for your coding ingredients. Everything has a very specific designated role. Page.tsx is the star of the show. It's her main page where your brilliant code takes center stage. But hey, every main page needs a stylish companion, right? That's where layout.tsx comes in, wrapping your pages in a consistent UI. Then you've got loading.tsx, which automatically creates instant loading states built right on React suspense while your data fetches. And if something goes wrong, error.tsx instantly jumps in to handle the crash gracefully. These really are the core building blocks of this Next.js utopia. Section 4, the SEO Metadata King. Let's step into the glamorous world of SEO. We all know search engine optimization is absolutely crucial, and honestly, with its metadata API, Next.js is the undisputed king of the front-end kingdom. It makes crafting SEO-rich pages as easy as pie. It's basically an absolute metadata fiesta. You've got hundreds of options right at your fingertips. Config-based metadata, file-based, open graph tags for social sharing, Twitter cards, auto-generating your robot's text, it literally does it all. And my personal favorite, you can create reusable metadata templates, because honestly, who wants to repeat themselves on every single page? Next.js ensures you totally don't have to. So the crucial point is how clean the implementation actually is in your code. By just typing export const metadata, you declare your title and description right there in your file, and Next.js automatically injects it into the head of your HTML document. There are no extra plugins required, no complex state management just to change a simple page title. It's straightforward, it's readable, and it works perfectly right out of the box. Section 5, Future of Web Development. Let's zoom out a bit from the technical specs and look at the overarching philosophy here. The big takeaway here is that Next.js 14 is positioned as way more than just a framework. It really acts as a companion and a mentor, guiding you toward best practices by default. It's a real game changer, whether you're a seasoned coding maestro or an absolute newbie just joining the digital symphony. By stripping away all that repetitive boilerplate and those endless configuration headaches, Next.js basically invites you to join the ranks of those who code with speed, ease, and serious style. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. With the beautiful simplicity of its file-based routing and the raw, unadulterated power of its server-side performance, the only question left to ask yourself is, are you ready to dance with the folders? It's an open invitation to embrace the simplicity, let the framework be your guide, and step into the future of front-end greatness. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, and happy coding!